I say we don't need to build software faster. We need to build products better.
Yeah.
And I don't want to discount speed. Speed's important, but it's not if you're not building the right thing.
Yeah. Speed doesn't matter if your product is not doing what it needs to do. You got to the wrong place quickly. That's great.
Right.
You got there fast, but it's still the wrong place.
Welcome to the CTRL ALT GAB podcast, where we sit down with tech founders to break down how they scale, pivot, and grow. I'm your host, Gabrielle Walthers. Let's dive in.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the CTRL ALT GAB podcast. We are joined today by the wonderful Anthony. He is the founder of VelocityPM, which is a program management tech-enabled company. And we are really excited to have him on the show today to share a bit of his story and what growth has looked like for him. I'm excited to learn from him today and get to share some insights together. So thank you for joining us, Anthony. We're excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
To kick things off, I'm interested in hearing your origin story with VelocityPM and what inspired you to get involved in the PM space and provide solutions to folks working in those fields. Before I joined Freshly Pressed, I was in PM at the federal level, and I definitely left for a reason. I have a pretty good understanding of a lot of the typical PM pain points on a pretty big scale. And it always makes me excited to see people that are trying to make it better, to put it very simply. Walk us through the beginning there.
You know, while there's a program management or project management aspect of our platform, we're really more product management, product development, but it all kind of ties together. My journey looks like building a solution to solve my own problem. I've been in product and tech for about 25 years and was just fortunate enough to be in situations where I led both sides, meaning both product and tech. It really allowed me to build this end-to-end framework for building products and taking to market. Started off very early in my career doing that, mostly at startups, though I have spent some time at eBay and Amazon. Kept coming back to startups because that's really where my passion is. But over the years in leading product and tech teams and building products, I developed this framework and I kept bringing it from company to company and improving it over the years. It was mostly in my head, maybe loosely documented. But about 3 years ago, I had this idea. I was working for a startup and, decided I wanted to go off and do my own thing. It was back and forth. What does this look like? I had a few different ideas, but I just kept coming back to, I have this framework. I know that, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other product people have this same problem. So decided to launch VelocityPM. The first thing I did following, my framework or my process is go talk to potential customers, right? Talk to the key personas that would be using this platform to really make sure either prove or disprove assumptions that I had. One being that everybody had this same problem and everybody was using 5 to 10 different tools to manage the product development lifecycle. Sure enough, that was the case. I went out and I spoke to hundreds of product leaders, product managers, even founders in early stage, anybody involved in product development. And almost everyone said the same thing. Yep, we're using 5 to 10 different tools, using our competitors, but they weren't really getting what they needed. Got a, co-founder who is Alexis Hernandez. He's the co-founder and CTO. He was really interested early on. As soon as I told him about, my idea, over the weekend, he went and built a prototype and came back on Monday and said, what do you think? Something like this? I'll say it was off to the races from then, but, there was still more things that we had to do. Officially, we started the company about 2 years ago.
Awesome.
Got an early MVP in market. And almost a year ago, we put the first production-ready version of the product in market, but it was still early. It wasn't until the end of last year, beginning of this year, that we had a real product that we could go to market with. Pretty good growth on starting point was pretty small numbers, but starting to pick up. And it really resonates with our ICP and our key personas.
Definitely. When you are getting in front of professionals that frequently see this issue but don't have the capacity or time to solve it, the attitude is so positive and receptive because you have people showing up being like, thank God, finally. We all are aware of this problem. None of us are in the space or have the capacity or in the position to solve it. Being that person to bring that solution to them, even without having the product market, very empowering because you're like, thank God we're onto something. And even before we're ready, we have this interest just by telling them about it. When you talk about those kind of key personas in your ICP, what who are you actively going after and who do you have identified as those key personas? And is that the same group of people that you're kind of getting this positive reception from?
Sure. I'll start with ICP, right? Like the ideal customer before the persona. And while our solution works for really anybody, if you're writing software, either because you're a software company or you're software or tech enabled, think banking, finance, legal, any of these industries, anybody that falls into that broad category is potentially a user. But our go-to-market and our ICP right now is early to mid-stage software companies, SaaS or other software companies, because they feel the pain the most. We will sell to enterprise in the future, but that's just not where we're gonna start for a lot of reasons. That, like I said, early to mid stage SaaS companies, and I go as broad as that could be $300, $400, $500 million annual revenue company, right? All the way down to an early startup. So that's the ICP. Now within there, if it's early stage, it could be a founder, but typically it's product manager, product leader. Like those three would be our key personas. Again, anybody involved in product development is a potential user of the platform, but that's our core. It resonates the most with them, and it's pretty consistent across those three personas, like the feedback that we get and, you know, how engagement goes.
It's interesting going after the development team specifically because there's a good opportunity to offer to save them time and allow them to do what they actually want to do more from a personal self-interest perspective resonates a lot, right? How much time do people sink into all of those management pieces, taking away from being able to focus on the tech and the product?
We want to roll it out to the entire product development team or teams if they have multiple, but we see a lot of just an individual product manager using it because it makes their job easier, better, right?
Yeah.
We're still working through messaging and how we tell the story. But right now, our key tagline is build the right product 10 times faster. And just a few words, but really powerful. We intentionally put faster secondary because we live in a day and age with technology, especially now with AI. We could build software fast, right? That's not a problem. It's the right product, right? And that's the biggest value, right?
Yeah.
You know, 75% of all software products fail. Any size company, any stage company, 75% plus fail. And there's a number of reasons, but the primary reason is they don't find product market fit. You're building something, maybe you're not solving a real problem or a big enough problem, or you're not solving it in the way that customers will buy it or use it. That's really what we're about, is helping product development teams build the right product and do it faster, much more efficient with our Copilot and our AI agent workflows.
I like that positioning, and I really enjoy that you put the right product piece first, because I think that touches on something that is almost par for course now across tons of different industries. Even from an agency perspective, the amount of trial and error we've had to do for our software to see what works for us, because we don't know. When you're working with these pre-made solutions, there's going to be shortcomings and there's going to be places where it's not fitting with what you're trying to do. I really like the positioning of having that correct piece in there, because how much time and money do people waste testing things out to see ultimately that it doesn't work for them, and then they're back to square one. That's a really small but strategic and very smart piece of positioning that you've implemented in there. You've mentioned kind of you've been to market and having those kind of first few clients in the past like a year. Where did those connections originate from? Was it word of mouth? Were you doing any like specific outreach? Was it kind of through your existing network? What did kind of onboarding those first kind of clients look like for you?
I mean, I've leveraged my network pretty heavily, both locally here in Phoenix. I have a great network of software companies, startups. I leverage that. Also, our biggest acquisition channel has been LinkedIn. And essentially, they're easy to find, meaning our key personas or ICP. LinkedIn, everyone's on there that we're targeting, and it's easy to find them and search. I do a lot of outreach. I do some organic posts. I do some paid ads, but LinkedIn has been our primary acquisition source. I mean, I don't know, 1,200 companies now that have signed up on the platform, and probably 80% or more of those came through
Yeah, so a very profitable channel for you.
It's been great. Where we're going to next is there's a big product community. There's organizations that put on events, these product conferences. There's product influencers. We've been testing that out a little bit. Last year we sponsored the show, had a booth in the exhibit hall, and worked really well. That's where we're going to next. Right now, it's been starting with our network and then pretty quickly leveraging LinkedIn successfully so far.
I'm also curious what your team looks like. Being on the earlier side, but having like a lot of success this early on. And there's tons of tech founders that I've spoken to that are in the same timeline as you, and they're like, we've onboarded our first singular paying customer. Where you're at currently and how much time you've been in market is a testament to, the success you've had with, your LinkedIn channel. What do you think, other than just picking the right channels and doing the right type of outreach and utilizing your network effectively, has been the secret sauce for you for getting that success early on?
Well, you mentioned the teams. We're pretty lean. We're 7 people. 3 of those are developers, product manager. We have somebody helping out on the sales side. So we run lean, and the saying, eat your own dog food, right? We very much do that. I always joke about what we do. It's so meta, right?
Yeah.
We're using our product to build our product for other people to build their products. Right? I mean, it doesn't get more meta than that. But it works, right? I mean, it's not hard for us to have a really informed kind of conversation with the prospect, because we're such big believers in it, because it's working for us.
Exactly. And the authority builds itself when you can say the success of our product is in the fact that our product exists because we used it to do this. So you have that extra piece built in by nature of utilizing the technology that you founded to get the project you're working on up and running so that other people can use it. It's all very cyclical and it's all feeding into itself, which is good. A lot of those rejections can be combated by pointing those things out. We know it works because here we are with it in front of you. It's built itself. How are you going to sit here and say it's not going to be able to do the same thing for you? So that's a really cool space that you've been able to embed yourself in.
That touches on a big reason for the success on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great channel for a lot of people. It seems to be the best performing channel right now in general. I think a big part of why it works so well for us is we're product people building for product people. So it's easy to find them. And then when we reach out or post organically or whatever we're doing, it's like, oh, they're one of us, right? That whole built by product for product people, it's not just cliche or a saying. It really is true. Everybody in this company, we're this little lean 7-person company, but we're all product people. Whatever the role is, we're all product people. I think it comes through, and I think it really matters.
Well, having that whole team being product people, how does that influence kind of when you look to the future to expand and scale your team? Are you going to be keeping that culture of having really focused product people, or are you going to come at it from the perspective of we already have this locked in, we have such a solid group of, now let's bring in these different types of professionals?
My vision is, no matter the role, everybody's a product person.
Totally,
now,
yeah.
are we going to find a product person who's a CFO or a head of? There won't be as much of product people as we are, or someone who's worked in product their entire career. But I guess a product driven or a product oriented person in each one of those roles. Ideally, when we bring on a CFO, that person has worked for a product company. So by trade, they're not a product person, but they've been around it long enough.
Yeah,
They know how to do finance in a product company. So we got to loosen up on that requirement a little bit over time. But that loosened version of it, I'd like to keep as long as I can, forever.
Sure.
If possible. This is so core to me because I've been in product my entire career. But like a product company and a non-product company, they're very different. And sometimes if you're not in that world, you might not really see that. But if you're a services company or just something completely, outside of a product company, you think about things differently across the board. So that's why it's so important for us.
Definitely having that cohesive background and understanding and the way the brain works. And I think that's important, keeping that level of cohesion. Having that background really, I think, does inform the quality of work and the level of kind of expertise that you bring to the table with your product or offerings. It's cool to see how that can kind of, cross industry and be effective no matter kind of what type of company you're working for. So
it goes beyond the culture. It's ingrained into us that we think like product people. We have a very product-driven organization and permeates everything we do.
We talked about that staffing piece and the growth, the actual growth of your team. Beyond hiring and building your internal team out, what does your relationship with strategic partnerships look like? Is that something that you have leveraged early on? Is that something you're looking to do in the future? What does that piece look like for you?
A little bit of both. I mean, we definitely started forming some, strategic partnerships, whether it's a reseller, referral relationship, any software company, distribution is king, right? In addition to all the direct stuff that we do and will continue to do, we're trying to be strategic about finding the right, distribution. It's more, going back to the point of we think everything is, we think of everything like product people. We're experimenting. What channels work best and what type of partnerships work best? Is it we're just attending those events? Are we sponsoring? It's figuring out the right way to leverage different partnerships, product influencers. At some point, we might go after some bigger whales there in terms of like the big 5 consulting companies, right? I don't know that would work for us and would be a fit, but we want to explore it, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to be pretty data-led or performance-led. We have some ideas on what will work, or we know what is currently working, but we want to explore, and we might find something that we didn't think of. That's an incredible distribution channel. So we're just getting started in that. That's the short answer.
As companies try to diversify their offering at the strategic partnership level, that testing and iterating and dipping your toes in is really important. As people come to the table with new offerings and new types of partnerships, it can be confusing. It's hard to anticipate what's going to work without trying it out. We love strategic partnerships over here. So we are all about trying things out, meeting new people, seeing where natural synergies pop up. I want to shift our focus a little more to the future. So I don't know exactly what time frame you think in, if it's years, if it's months, if it's decades. Looking to the future, what are you writing on your vision board? What do you wake up in the morning and manifest before you get out of bed for the company?
I'll start with our vision and strategy for both the product and the company. And it's 3 key phases. The first is Copilot. And what I mean by that is not Microsoft Copilot. There's a lot of these AI copilots out there, and they're exactly that. They kind of guide and help generate data. It's your Copilot to whatever your job is to make you better at your job. That's phase 1. I would say we've mostly delivered on that. There's some things we need to finish up in that area, but for the most part, we've delivered on that. So we're moving to phase 2, which is agent-driven workflow, kind of fully automated. This is something that we're working on now, which is sooner than we had planned. We thought it would be later this year. But if you've been anywhere around AI the last 6 to 12 months, you've heard agentic workflows, everything is agents. And it's not hype, it's legit. We realized we had to do it sooner than we had originally planned. And that's basically taking everything that happens interactively with the Copilot today and fully automating it, including auto-generating working prototypes. These would be web apps, right? We might do some other things in the future, but right now we can automate the entire product development lifecycle, including generating working prototypes. We're very specific on that word prototypes. It's not production-ready code. That's phase 3. And the reason that's not now is because while AI is making amazing progress, faster than probably any technology we've seen, AI-generated code is still not production ready to truly be a product. So that's phase 2. We're right in the middle of that now, is agent-driven workflows, automating the product development lifecycle. Still keeping a human in the loop, right? Our vision isn't to replace humans, but it's to make them more efficient. And a byproduct of that could be less people on a product development team, but that's just not our focus. And I mentioned phase 3, and this could be next year. This could be years from now. We won't dictate when this happens. The progression of the technology will. That is fully autonomous product development. Type in one prompt, and within a couple of hours, you have a fully working product. And you might ask, well, can't vibe coding do that now? And I'll say a very hard no. You can get software out of vibe coding and any of these AI coders, and they're great. We use them. We leverage them. I don't want to disparage that, but software without product management is not a product. I've been saying this a lot. We don't need more software in the world. We need more well thought out products, build the right product. I think what's happening is that step is getting skipped. Absolutely. You could build something in minutes, an hour, right? If you didn't do product management, does it really solve a problem? How are you solving that problem? How big is that problem? How should you think about the strategy in order of features and functionality that you're developing? What does the UX look like? There's all these things that happen in product management that either get skipped or compressed to some ridiculous amount when you're doing, again, I don't want to keep hating on vibe coding, but to me, it's far from where we need to be. When it's ready, we'll be as well positioned as anybody to do this fully autonomous product development. Again, put in a prompt and you got a working product. and it's continually monitoring user feedback and product analytics and all of this data that says what needs to be fixed or changed or what do you do next. The thing with product market fit is it's very hard to get there, and it's sometimes even harder to keep it. You see companies all the time that either thought they reached product market fit or they actually did, then they lost it. Competitor came around, or the market changed, or something changed. So you're constantly chasing it. And then when you get it, you're looking to get it again. That's why I'm a firm believer that we'll always need good product management. It's just going to be aided heavily by AI and methodology and workflow, right? That's what differentiates us really from a lot of other solutions, whether it's, the AI coding or even some of our competition is AI plus methodology plus workflow. That's how you build great products, not skipping any or all of those.
Yeah, totally. With a couple other folks that we've had on the podcast, the conversation of tech debt comes up as well, which is another factor coming into play. You can't just make it and forget it. There are these backend systems that need to be honed in on and functional to manage the product, make sure it continues to function, make sure it evolves with the client's needs, it evolves with new advancements and new upgrades to the software that you've built and used. And even tech founders, there's a big missed opportunity to take that into consideration and amplify that by a million when you get non-technical people, trying to conceptualize and develop these products.
We live in an era now where it is just easier and faster and more prolific than ever to build tech debt. Writing software that doesn't have a purpose in mind is instant, immediate tech debt, or doing it poorly. We don't need to build software faster. We need to build products better. You don't want to discount speed. Speed's important, but it's not if you're not building the right thing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if your product is not doing what it needs to do. You got to the wrong place quickly. That's great. Right. You got there fast, but it's still the wrong place.
A saying that I love, and I wish I could remember who told this to me so I can give them attribution. It was years ago, and it has stuck with me ever since. It's kind of a cliche. You've probably heard it before, but it's the pilot who says, I have good news and bad news. The good news is we're increasing our speed. The bad news is we're losing altitude. That's how I think of where AI coding and this tech debt thing is. It doesn't help to go faster if you're going down.
No, exactly. Yeah, you can wrap it all pretty right? But it doesn't really change the fact that it's not what you want at the end of the day. I love that analogy. You can get there as fast and as efficient as you can, but if your plane's crashing, then it doesn't really matter how quickly it crashes. Right. It's going to happen.
That's when you want to slow down.
That is interesting because the bad news makes the good news worse. And that's not what you want. So
for sure.
We talked about your goals on the product side, but I'm curious for on the business ops side, what your growth goals are looking to the future. As you're continuing to develop your offering and your products, what is your scale plan to go alongside that?
The easiest way to look at our goal is the typical unicorn, right? Build $100 million in revenue, get a 10x valuation, for that $1 billion exit. I don't think too much about exit. I want to build a great enduring company. We're a VC driven or enabled company. So there has to be, an exit for investors. Mm-hmm. But I really hope when we get there that it's one that, again, we continue to go on, bought by a bigger company, maybe go public, whatever that looks like. I want to build a great enduring company. The space that we're in, it's changing so fast. It's moving so fast that we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Right? We have a pretty good idea, but that could change tomorrow. Really, it's obviously revenue growth is going to be a huge, there'll be milestones and a huge measure of what we do, how we grow, what success looks like. The vision as far as strategy and that 3-phase strategy. But our big, huge vision for the company is enable any company in the world to build great products. And when we do that, we'll have achieved something amazing, right? When we're really big on documenting our vision, our mission, our why. And the reason we do what we do is we love building products. We want to enable everyone else to do it. There's a downside to every technology. AI has this doom part of it. And I don't necessarily believe that, but I don't believe that that's where it's going to end up, but it's possible. I'd rather focus on the positive side. Think of what technology has done. It's done amazing things. If we could create a world where we don't have a 75% failure rate, think of all the, whether it's in healthcare and longevity and lifespan, or making our lives easier and better on a day-to-day basis. And being able to do that without a lot of the negative side of it. I know that's really big, broad, and flowery, but that's our vision. That's how we see the world. This is for us how we contribute and how we do that. We need to scale revenue. We need to grow the team. We'll always be a lean team compared to how many people it took before, or maybe to other companies in the same space. But we'll need to grow the team, right? We do a lot of product-led growth and founder-led sales, but we need to get traditional is not the right word, but more enterprise sales team. And to your point, strong partnership.
Totally.
That's going to be a big unlock for us. We haven't quite figured out exactly, what that looks like. Early testing and experimentation points to that's going to be big for us.
Yeah, we see that strategic partnership piece really increasing lately because people want to avoid expensive hiring that's risky. Expanding your team too quickly or at all has those risks associated with it, where you're, doing it all this time and financial investment with getting them onboarded, and just to, 3 months later, you're like, well, this doesn't work. Trying to mitigate that risk and still be able to scale can be really challenging for a lot of founders. So keeping your team so lean and being, a more involved founder, I'm curious what you have on your plate that you're really eager to offload. What are some pieces that a hat you're wearing where you're like, I want to lock this hat away and never wear it again. I want us to be able to grow to a place where I don't have to do this anymore.
That list is long, but I'll focus on a few. The first one is what I'll a little bit more broadly call customer success. Everybody that signs up on our platform and goes through onboarding, I'm, involved with in some way or another. It's great because, I get that instant feedback. I know what's happening on the platform. Like there's no blind spots there. But that doesn't scale, right? So customer success and managing these accounts, especially some of the larger ones, always want to provide an amazing user experience on the platform and a customer experience, and whether it's support or growth, whatever that is. And I can't continue to be the primary one doing that. So that one just immediately jumps out. That's the first one.
That's the biggest hat.
Maybe next after that is sales. Now, founder-led sales, it's legit. It's probably not impossible, but I think it's very difficult in the early days to be successful with the startup if the founder isn't doing or leading most of those sales. And so that's just a maturity thing. We need to get to the point where it doesn't have to be me, or at least I don't have to be so involved. I, absolutely have to do it now. And to some extent, I enjoy it, but it's a lot. So that might be the second one to go. But that's less a lack of resources to do it, and more it's what we should be doing at this stage. The third one is marketing, maybe more in terms of brand and awareness. I'm kind of jack of all trades, and I think I'm pretty good at a lot of things, but I'm not great at brand and awareness. I know enough to know how to do it, and I do a decent job of it, but it's a bandwidth and a scale thing, but it's a skill set thing as well. I really need someone who knows brand in and out, because the product marketing side of it, it's almost always been part of my role, leading product teams. There's a good healthy, I don't know if I'd say competition or even a little contention between product and marketing, like who owns go-to-market and who owns, product marketing. But the good thing, if everybody here is a product person, we all own it. I need to be much less hands-on with that. Specifically, I can't say it enough, the brand and awareness piece.
I think that those are the typical hats that folks want to offload. They're like, I'm a technical founder. I'm doing this because I know it's effective and I know I need to be involved. And I don't want to pay anyone else to do it right now, because that's not something we can scope in. Knowing your strengths and knowing where you're most effective is a superpower, because a lot of people want to be experts at all of these different things that are all a piece of their company, and they want to get to a point where they have the knowledge and the experience to be able to be effective in all those spaces, but you're still going to be spreading yourself thin, and that piece is never going to go away. I want to toss it to you to speak to what you think the biggest piece for company scaling success from your experience with the growth you've been able to achieve so far. What would be your advice to other technical founders for, doing things in a way that gets you the success early on without too much trial and error?
I think there's two big things. I'll start with the one that I just talked about, is founder-led sales. you just can't offload that to someone. Whether you're a salesperson by background or you've done it at all, no one is ever going to sell as passionately, as effectively, just know the product inside and out. No one's going to sell as well as the founder in the early days. You got to outgrow that. But in the early days, you have to be there and you have to lose all shame. And that's hard. It's hard. It was hard for me. It's hard for a lot of people. This is the first startup that I've done on my own. I've worked for a ton of startups. I've been on founding teams of other startups. But this is only the second time I've done my own. I had some modest level of success with my first one, but ultimately it failed. And there's a few reasons, but a big part of it was that, 15 years ago, I didn't understand founder-led sales and no one's going to come in and save you and people aren't going to find it on their own. Like, you got to sell every day, constantly. And that includes investors. I mean, unless you're in a business where you could truly bootstrap or maybe have enough to go on yourself, great. But you're selling to employees in the early stages. People are joining your company because they believe in your vision. They believe in you. It's all selling. Customers, investors, employees, partners, everything. Can't emphasize it enough. I think I've gotten pretty good at it over the years, but my starting point was I was not good. You could learn it, right? You can absolutely learn it. It just takes practice. The other side is if you're a product/tech founder, that's just where you're going to live. You're going to be fine. But I don't think that you can't be successful if you're a non-tech founder, non-product founder, but it's really, really hard, especially if you're not a product or a tech based founder, but also even to some extent if you are. You got to live in the product in the early days. And I don't mean micromanage. I mean, if you're the founder, it's your vision, it's your idea. And much like with sales, you can't just give it to somebody else to go do. It's your vision. Now, bringing some of that selling into the mix, you got to evangelize and sell and get everybody excited as you are, get them to understand it and make it their vision. But that doesn't just happen. Pretty much as an early stage founder, you're building and selling. And, you should be doing very little outside of that, except for the other 10 hats you wear.
For sure, right? Yeah.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think you touched on some really important points there, and where to innovate and outsource and partner, and then where to keep that ownership for an amount of time that's effective, I think. And a lot of people struggle with figuring out where those timelines are effective and how long is too long to keep things on your plate that you should have offloaded. It's a very delicate dance that founders frequently find themselves kind of struggling with ultimately throughout scaling. So you touched on something like so important. So now I will give you another opportunity here to plug anything that you want to plug for VelocityPM. Let us know where to find you. Tell people, if there's anything exciting coming down the pipe to keep an eye out for it.
Appreciate that. So what's coming soon is I mentioned that phase 2, the agent-driven workflow. Within 30 days, we'll deploy the initial agent workflow and then keep building on it after that. So the next 30 to 90 days, will completely transform the company, or the product. We'll keep the co-pilot, and then you'll be able to work interactively or automate it and switch between. And so we think that's going to be really powerful. So how do you find us? Right now, it's free trial, whatever tier or however you want to use the product. It always starts with the free trial. It's a simple sign up and you can get in there and really start to see some of that immediate value. And it's just VelocityPM.com. It's an I instead of a Y, VelocityPM.com. That's the website. From there, you could sign up for free. It'll dump you into the app, and it's pretty quick and easy to get going. It's very easy to provide us feedback. Once you're in there, there's a feedback button. You'll get emails from the platform that you can reply to. So at this stage, we love getting great feedback. And I'll say this, because our ICP and because our personas, they're all product people, they give very good, very detailed feedback. We love it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Anthony. We appreciate your time. I appreciate being able to hear your story and learn from you. Thank you so much. And to our viewers, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the CTRL ALT GAB podcast. Please follow us along, follow Anthony on LinkedIn, check out VelocityPM, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks again.
Thank you for listening to the CTRL ALT GAB podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.